Hello there and welcome to Breakfast All Day. Christy and Matt and Alonso. Finally, we've got something special for you here at the end of the show. Matt insisted that we do it. He ever so lovingly nudged us toward it. It is the 35th anniversary of Labyrinth. And are they re-releasing it in theaters, Matt?
So
Fathom, right?
Fathom releasing
Okay.
Fathom Events, who does events in theaters. There will be showings this weekend of Labyrinth, and I think that there's a 35th anniversary home video release as well.
Okay. So neither Alonso nor I had ever seen Labyrinth, but Matt, what a treat. Please explain to us.
Okay.
Please.
So where this came from is, every week we talk about what movies we're going to watch, and I try and look ahead as much as possible because it helps me plan. And I've seen that there's these 35th anniversary titles or anniversary titles that get releases. And I thought, hey, let's try that and see what people think. So the first one we're doing is Labyrinth, which it turns out my colleagues had never seen. This is a 1986 film that is a Jim Henson production. Jim Henson directed it. Amongst the producers is George Lucas. Terry Jones of Monty Python fame has credit on the screenplay, even though the screenplay ends up being much different. But when you watch it, you can pick out some of the stuff that he did. It's a lot of the Muppet actors that are doing a lot of the performances here, including Frank Oz. But the big stars in this are Jennifer Connelly at the age of maybe 15, 16. She was 16 when the movie came out. So she was probably 15 when they shot it. And I buried the lead, David Bowie, as Jareth the Goblin King, who is having the fucking time of his life in this movie. He is having a better time than anyone in the audience, I think, ever did. And so the story is about Jennifer Connelly is this young woman named Sarah. She doesn't like having to babysit the kid. And she's mad and she is hooked on fantasy literature and wishes that the Goblin King would come and take the baby away and not bug her anymore. And sure enough, he does. And then she thinks, oh shit, now I got to get the baby back. So she goes, but the Goblin King says, oh, well, you can get the baby back, but you have to get through the labyrinth past the Goblin City and to my castle, and you have 13 hours to do it. Good luck. And there's some songs that are vintage 80s songs. There is the type of puppet work that we saw in the Dark Crystal that was, and what we would later see on The Storyteller, I think was the name of that show that Henson was doing. Definitely trying to get past the Muppet kind of sensibility. This was a little bit better than I remembered it. It's not very good.
Did you rewatch it, Matt?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I rewatched it. I took this seriously. But from the people who never saw it before, I kind of want to hear what you guys thought.
Well, first of all, it's Fraggle Rock on acid. This is a fucked up movie, you guys. Is it supposed to be good? Is it supposed to be like trippy and weird, or is it supposed to be like an actually like enjoyable, family-friendly comedy sci-fi?
Is it if you're when you were 9, this seemed awesome kind of thing? Because I kept getting like Return to Oz vibes out of it, which again, I was too old for both of these movies, but I get why if you saw them at the right age, you would fixate on them for life because it was like the first thing that freaked you out and like scared you or whatever.
There's definitely some Wizard of Oz vibes here, in that she's a young woman on this journey. She's got these 3 weird characters following her around.
So it reminds you how like that trope that the Wizard of Oz is like how often you see it in other movies. Because like I was thinking about Spirited Away. I was thinking about like various other movies. Alice in Wonderland, absolutely. Yeah, that they are definitely, following literally in those footsteps.
This had a somewhat troubled production, not so much partly because you had so many people with definite ideas that they ended up compromised in a weird way. So Terry Jones gets credit for the screenplay, but to hear him tell it, there's very little of what he did actually ended up in the final script. And then you had to hear Jim Henson tell it about the production. He would talk about how he would pull in a character direction. Lucas would pull in an action direction. And and the movie is admittedly kind of a mess.
It was reminding me of Willow in not good ways. So I could
Yeah.
definitely see the George Lucas fingerprints in there.
That being said, like the puppetry in this is terrific.
Is it
I think it's for 86.
for the time?
I think it's
for the
great.
time, yeah.
Yeah,
They're like walking around on their own. Like a lot of them are, it's not like
Costumes.
people with their hands up of them. It's
My thing was like, the color palette of this movie was getting on my nerves because like somebody talked recently, they were showing stills from the new Dune, which we haven't seen yet. And we're like, remember when movies weren't afraid of color? Like when everything didn't have to just be gray and brown and blah. This movie is like such the full palette of like a baby's diaper, when the fire creatures show up, even though their song is terrible, at least like they're orange and it's exciting. Like, this movie is like, you've got David Bowie, has got this big number where he's surrounded by all these Muppets, and it just, for the life of me, I was like, this is like if he'd been on the Muppet Show, because it's so presentational. It's so like practically proscenium, where he's performing this musical number against a flat backdrop to the camera,
and they're all around him dancing.
Yeah. Can we talk about how he is wearing the most amazing mullet of all time?
It's not a mullet.
Well,
it's not a mullet.
It's
not
sort of
technically
a
mullet.
It's sort of a mullet.
It's not, because it's not short on top and parting in the back.
Boy,
it's
is that
like,
a codpiece, though.
It's stuff. And then let's talk about the codpiece.
Well, hang on.
He's like 23 years older than Jennifer Connelly and like trying to seduce her. Like she's a 15-year-old girl. Isn't that a little weird?
Yeah, and the codpiece goes on the outside. Like
whatever his fake schlong is, whatever his armor is. I don't know
but going back to his hair, like he stole Tina Turner's wig from Beyond Thunderdome and then cut it up. And
this is the same year as Absolute Beginners, by the way. So a lot of Bowie going on at the movies that year. Can we talk about the ending? This is a 35-year-old movie. I think we're allowed to do some spoiling. Okay. So the movie sets it up as though the idea is this girl who is like mired in fantasy and is totally selfish, like has to sort of learn to, be responsible and care about other people and sort of put childish things away, and does. And then the very ending of the movie is like, nah, I'm still going to romp around with all my fantasy friends and I'm still going to live in my own little bubble cloud of whatever.
Need the
it's
curtain
like,
call.
Pick a lane, movie. Like, there could be the poignancy of her like having to say goodbye to those people and to like, understand what reality is and her responsibilities as a half sister or whatever. But like it so wants to have both. It's just like,
Right. She's 15 and she still has like a whole rack of teddy bears up on her wall in her bedroom. But she also has posters of Evita and cats. Did you notice that?
1986, everybody.
Patty Lupone. There's a whole like Patty Lupone and Evita poster up on her wall. It's confusing, isn't it? So she learns that it's okay to look out for your little brother. It's okay to be a responsible young woman and grow up now. But then, like when she wants them, though, she can still dip back into like, hanging out with her puppet friends. It's all very strange. It's very conflicted with itself. Again, like, I don't know. Also, I don't really know who it's for. I think the puppets are so off-puttingly weird looking that they are not for little kids.
I don't think anyone knew who it was for.
I don't know who it's
even
for.
When they were making it.
I don't know. And then also it's too simplistic for adults. And if you're a David Bowie fan, like these are not David Bowie's best songs.
No.
At all.
No,
None of them are memorable.
Like, this is after the Serious Moonlight tour.
Yeah.
Like you can't get enough of Bowie. It's like, oh, he's doing a movie. He's dressed like this weirdo. I'm in. Like, remember that era, right?
I mean,
so they drop in like the big ball scene, right? Like that is absolutely a new wave video that they shoot right in the middle of this movie.
Yeah.
Her hair is gigantic.
Oh my God.
Which imagine Jennifer Connelly is really good in this. And because she has to act opposite puppets, she's having to say incredibly stupid highfalutin fantasy dialogue.
And she has to evolve from being kind of like a pill and a pain in the ass to like a more assured young woman,
and go toe to toe with Bowie's performance, right? And
yes.
so, and
that's
the
a
thing
lot.
is, like, if with a lesser cast in this would be unwatchable. Right?
I think around this time, you're right. I think around this time she was also in a Dario Argento movie called like Creepers or something, but I've never seen it. It's a bunch of she can psychically command bugs, I think is the premise.
But you can see she definitely has that thing at an early age, like that presence and the maturity.
And Once Upon a Time in America is only like a year or two after this, so it's like she's already getting into the zone of adult roles.
Yeah.
Right. And clearly, and again, like I said before, like Bowie's clearly having fun in this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, oh, throw the baby up in the air. Sure.
Yeah, it's craziness. I tried to get Nick to watch part of this with me. I watched it while he was at school and then he came home. I'm like, come watch this crazy movie with me. He watched like 2 seconds of it. He's like, this is stupid. I'm not watching this. So it's not for kids. He's also cynical, as we know, but it's not for kids. It's not for adults. Is it for Jim Henson fans? If you're a fan of like feel good Muppet Show Jim Henson, Sesame Street Jim Henson, will you also like this? I
think Dark Crystal's a better movie than this one was, which was like the first one that he had done with the, different look to his puppetry. Yeah, I mean, at the time, people, critics at the time were like, what the hell is this? Mm-hmm. Right? And they're not wrong. There were a lot of people who were fans of Bowie in the tight pants, and okay. Sure.
I mean, he's so memeable. I mean, there's a million gifs of Bowie like holding the little crystal balls in his hand. And
I do like
smiling.
That they were pretty clever about shooting somebody else's hands juggling those. And if you didn't know better, like you would think, oh, Bowie learned to juggle those crystal balls.
I didn't catch that. I assumed.
Oh, yeah. Like there's a scene where it's clearly like some other dude's hand coming up next to his chest. Like, yeah.
By the way, don't at me. Once Upon a Time in America was actually 2 years before this, but she plays a young woman in that one. And the Argento movie it was released in the U.S. as Phenomena.
Okay.
Which
it's not her first movie. Which early in her career.
It is.
That's,
and which I'm
that's
sure
also not the John Travolta movie.
No, that's Phenomenon. But she told that to Jim Henson, and he said, "Ba-bee-ba-dee-dee."
Phenomena.
Ba-bee-dee-bee.
I got you.
They did that for decades on Kevin and Bean. Anytime somebody would say phenomenon.
Anyway, this is not a good movie. I'm glad I watched it, Matt, from a pop culture catch-up perspective. I'm saying 3.
I gave it a 6 just for the sheer scale of it, for the amount of puppets going on, for the amount of muppeting going on. But yeah, it is quite the hot mess and not much to look at, which I was surprised. I figured if nothing else it would at least be like kind of big fantasy, but it's so fucking brown, this movie. Ugh. Yeah, so yeah,
it's better than I thought. It's better than I remembered.
Okay,
so it gets a 5.
Okay, you said 6.
Oh, did I say 6?
I was saying, don't make me the 6. Generous one.
Yeah, 6.
So, and I like crazy so bad it's good. I love Zardoz.
Sure, no,
that's a whole different. That's a whole different thing.
This movie would need a lot more nerve to be so bad.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's also trying to be gentle, and that's a problem. Yeah. Anyway, our numbers are 5. Labyrinth is available on HBO Max. That's where I watched it.
Right, and on Netflix, which is where I watched it.
I will say, if you guys like that we've gone back to an older movie like this, just because it's the anniversary and not part of our, weekly you pick or monthly off the menu.
For our Patreon subscribers,
because there's some other ones coming up, like Carrie.
Ooh.
And Citizen Kane turns 80
Citizen
this
Kane
year.
and Ghost in the Shell.
So let us know if this interests you and if there's anything in particular that you'd like us to go back and revisit.
Well, we only take requests from our Patreon people.
That's true. You don't get a vote, YouTubers.
No, but if enough people watch this, we'll do more of them.
Absolutely.
But we'll pick.
So so there. All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out at BeFast All Day on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And of course, visit our Patreon page, the aforementioned, at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We do monthly classics. We do TV recaps. Right now we're talking about Ted Lasso, which there's a lot going on there, and a lot more. So check that out. Patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. And Marvel Monday returns.
Hooray! I took Nick to see Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings, and we had to deal with real people in a theater.
Ew.
But we're going to talk about that, and we look forward to it. So that'll be out for your enjoyment on Monday.
Cool. And once that movie is streaming, we will definitely be talking about it here when Matt and I can finally catch up with it, which we're both looking forward to doing. So have a good week, everybody. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.